Good morning. As some of you already know, my name is Vanya Wonkwo, and I just wanted to make another video. I know that I had promised to make another one to kind of describe to everyone what my process has been as far as what steps we took to get our immigration processed, and answer a little bit of questions that a couple people had about the steps that we took to get our immigration filed. So I got married back in November of 2018, and as soon as I got home, we filed our I-130 spousal immigration visa paperwork. We filed in February, so I also wanted to mention before I even start this video that this video in no way intended to be any kind of substitution for legitimate, real immigration advice. And my advice to you would be to seek out an immigration attorney and have a consultation with them before you even go to Nigeria your first time. Make sure that you take a list of questions that you have, that you've thought of before your immigration consult, and make sure that they're answering all your questions. And then, of course, they're always a great reference guide, so that when you are getting ready to leave, you have questions, more questions, you can always email them and they'd be happy to answer them for you. So definitely seek out an attorney before you even think about going to Nigeria for your first time, if you're thinking about getting married there and filing, and then going to file your paperwork. So consult with an attorney. I think my attorney fees for our consultation were $220 for the hour, and if it only lasted a half an hour, it was like $110. And I think ours only lasted a half an hour. We did a video chat with my spouse so that he could answer, or he could ask any questions that he had, and our immigration attorney was great. Somebody reached out to me through Facebook, Josh. Good morning, Josh. And he was planning on doing the same thing. He had a lady friend in Nigeria that he was planning on going to get married. So I noticed that you're from Seattle, Josh. So if you need a referral for an immigration attorney, I know a great one. So yeah, we got married back in November. We filed our paperwork in February, and once you file that paperwork, they'll send you a receipt, and then your receipt date is your date that you'll have throughout the whole process. That's like day one, the day you started. You get a receipt number, and then you can follow along online and kind of see where your immigration is at. They have a website that you can go to, and they'll continuously update it on packets that they're currently processing. So it's a long time. It's a long process. When I first got married, I had never certainly married an immigrant before, and so my husband and I, we were both very naive to the process and just kind of went into it blindly, which I'm sure 99.99% of people who go through this process are doing. So I know there's a million questions that everybody has, and thus such a great idea to find an attorney. I know some other people who have gone through this process who did not find an attorney and filed their paperwork themselves and were then denied. And once the Department of Homeland Security denies your visa application, it's really hard to get it undenied. So you really only have one shot at this. So an attorney is money well spent. They want to make sure that you're doing this the right way and the legal way. So definitely find an attorney. Once we filed our paperwork, pretty much all you do after that is wait. And the paperwork, when you first file, it's more about personal information about you and your spouse, where you come from, where you were born, your date of birth, your parents, your grandparents, their date of births. Department of Homeland Security really is our guard dog at our borders, and they really want to make sure that they're not letting any crappy people into our country. I'm proud of our Department of Homeland Security. I really support them. So, they're just wanting to make sure that you're your marriage, your relationship, everything was legit. I'm sure that there's millions of people out there who just get married and file to get a green card. That happens on a daily basis. So they're just wanting to make sure that your relationship, your marriage is 100% legitimate. So, our attorney also recommended, the first time I went to Nigeria, he said, if you're planning to get married on this first trip, try to make it as lengthy of a trip as possible. So my first trip to Nigeria, I spent 3 weeks, and then he recommended that you get married towards the end of your trip. Those situations, those matter when it comes to the immigration process. They want to make sure that you knew this person before you married them, that it just wasn't, I met him online 2 months ago and we got married and bam. So take your time, make sure that you know this person. Make sure that it's that you really want this, because it is an expensive and lengthy process. Just to file your paperwork initially is $535, and then your attorney's fees can be $1,000 up to $5,000. So make sure that this is what you want. Make sure that this is the process, that you're willing to go through this entire process and see it through to the end. And then once you marry somebody from any country, for the first 2 years, they'll have like a temporary green card. They have restrictions on it. It certainly looks like the card itself looks like a legit green card, but it expires after 2 years. Their next green card will be a 10-year green card, and then once the 10-year time period has passed, then they become full citizens. So it's a commitment, not just on your end, but also on your spouse's end to see that through. So make sure it's what you want. Make sure that you're ready to go through this process, because it's hard. It's tough. I don't think either of us really knew what to expect, and knew that it could be so difficult, to just the waiting is so tough. To be married especially, and then come back without your spouse and wait, it's difficult. But just know, that in the end, that this 1 year, this one small year time is so worth every moment, and I always try to keep in mind that it makes you stronger as a relationship, as a married couple, fighting through this. Finding your patience, finding that bond to be committed to fighting through and seeing it to the end. It only makes your relationship stronger. So I always try to keep that at the forefront of my mind, and try to keep that in mind, help me see it through. So, and then they also recommend to go back to Nigeria several times to solidify your relationship through immigration eyes. So those things matter. So I'm about to go back here in a couple weeks. I'm really excited about that. This will be only my second trip. So I hope I don't have to go back again before he gets to come home. But it can even take up to 18 months. It just depends on how long and how backed up United States immigration is at that time. And right now, you're looking about 1 year total from the time you filed your paperwork until the time he walks through your front door. It's about 1 year total. So there's some great websites out there. You can just do some searching around at Google. If anybody has any questions for me, of course, you can reach out to me through Facebook or through this video. My name is pretty unusual, so I'm sure that it won't be very hard to find me. But I'd be happy to send you some links to some great websites that other people are going through the same process. Certainly there's millions and millions and millions of immigrants that come into our country every year. So a lot of people have gone through this, and a lot of people can answer more questions even than I. So you'd be doing yourself a favor to check out some of those websites and learn a little bit more about the immigration process. I had not done that before I went and got married. I just went and got married. I was so in love, though. Nothing could have stopped me from going there to marry this man. I just was so sure of that through every fiber of my being. I was so sure about getting married to this guy. So that was our story. So if you have any questions for me, feel free to reach out to me anytime. And I hope everyone has a great day. And cha-cha!